This is how a millionaire relives his youth through a game only his brother knew. What would you sacrifice to relive a single moment from your childhood? Marcus Reed had everything money could buy: a $3.7 billion tech empire, luxury properties on 3 continents, and a reputation that opened every door. At 52, he was powerful, successful, and completely alone. Then his younger brother Danny died, and everything changed. They hadn't spoken in 5 years, not since Marcus became too important for family barbecues and Christmas mornings. But Danny left behind something impossible: a treasure hunt from their childhood, waiting in the forests of Wisconsin, where they'd once been kings of adventure. Hidden among the pine trees and forgotten trails were clues to a game only the two of them had ever played. A game that would force Marcus to choose between the fortune he'd built and the boy he used to be. Because some treasures can't be bought, they can only be remembered. Danny had kept their childhood alive for 25 years, adding new puzzles and challenges every summer, hoping his big brother would come home. Now Marcus had to decide. Would he honor the promises 2 boys had made by a lake long ago? Or would he let the last piece of magic in his world disappear forever? The question wasn't whether Marcus could solve Danny's final treasure hunt. The question was whether he'd survive what it revealed about the brother who never stopped believing in him, the promises he'd broken, and the man he was supposed to become. Welcome to a game where winning means remembering who you were before the world taught you who to be. The storm had been raging against Marcus Reed's Chicago penthouse for 3 days straight. At 52, he commanded a $3.7 billion tech empire from the 42nd floor of the Willis Tower. But tonight, staring at the legal document on his mahogany desk, his hands trembled like autumn leaves. His younger brother Danny had died 3 weeks ago in a head-on collision outside Milwaukee. They hadn't spoken in 5 years, not since Marcus became too successful for family gatherings, too important for birthday calls. The letter was in Danny's careful handwriting. Marcus, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And I hope it wasn't because of the heart condition Dr. Martinez warned me about. I know we haven't spoken in 5 years, not since you became too important for Christmas mornings, but I never stopped being your little brother. Do you remember our game? The treasure hunts at Grandpa's cabin that made us feel like we could conquer the world. I kept it alive, Marcus. I kept our childhood alive, waiting for you to remember who you were before you become who you are. The cabin is yours now. Maybe it's time you came home. Danny, Mr. Reed, his assistant Patricia knocked softly. The Japanese investors are here for the $200 million meeting. Cancel it, Marcus said, not looking up. Cancel everything. I'm going to Wisconsin. That evening, Marcus drove his Aston Martin through winding Wisconsin back roads, city lights fading behind him. The cabin sat on Pine Lake exactly as he remembered: weathered cedar logs, fieldstone chimney, the old tire swing still hanging from the massive oak. Inside was a time capsule. Family photos covered every surface, but it was the corner that stopped. His breath. Their childhood fort is made of couch cushions and quilts, perfectly preserved, with a wooden sign in Danny's 3rd grade handwriting: Adventure Headquarters. Marcus and Danny Reed, world-famous explorers. Marcus crawled inside and found a leather journal filled with Danny's neat entries: Day 1, Mission, Operation Treasure Hunt. Agents, Commander Marcus, age 12, and Lieutenant Danny, age 8. Weather, perfect for adventure. The entries continued. For 25 years, every summer Danny had returned alone, adding new puzzles, new adventures, always hoping his big brother would come back to play. The final entry was dated 1 month ago, day 8/8/47. The doctors say my heart is getting worse. I've created the ultimate treasure hunt. One last adventure for Marcus and me. The first clue is where we always began, where the sun sets over the water and the old oak stands guard like a faithful sentinel. For the first time in decades, Marcus felt excitement that had nothing to do with stock prices. The same feeling he'd had as a 12-year-old about to embark on the adventure of a lifetime. Marcus woke before dawn without an alarm, something that hadn't happened in years. He made coffee in his grandfather's old percolator, the ritual coming back like muscle memory, then walked to the oak tree by the dock. The massive tree was covered with carved initials and dates, a living diary of everyone who'd found magic here. Hidden among the bark's natural patterns was their secret symbol, two interlocking circles with an arrow pointing northeast. The carving was fresh, Danny's final message. Following the arrow, Marcus found himself on a trail he hadn't walked in 25 years. Every few hundred yards, another symbol appeared, carved into trees, painted on rocks, scratched into fallen logs. His expensive Italian shoes were completely wrong for hiking, but with each step, the stress of his corporate life melted away. After 45 minutes, he reached a clearing with an old wooden box secured by a combination lock. 8:15. There. Shared birthday. Inside, wrapped in waterproof plastic, was Danny's letter. "Welcome back, Commander Marcus. I knew you'd remember the combination. Some things are burned into our souls forever. I've been waiting 25 years for this moment. This isn't just about treasure, though I promise you'll find more than you expect. Do you remember what you used to say? The best adventures happen when you stop thinking like a grown-up." When did you stop believing that? Your next clue is where we made our biggest discovery. Remember the summer you were 14? You stayed up all night drawing maps, absolutely certain we'd found proof of Captain Blackwood's treasure. Follow the blazes, they'll lead you home. The abandoned gold mine. Marcus remembered the electric thrill of discovery, the absolute certainty that they were about to become the richest kids in Wisconsin. The mine was a challenging 2-mile hike through dense forest, and Marcus felt absurd navigating fallen logs in his business suit. The mine entrance was partially collapsed, but still passable. Using his phone's flashlight, Marcus crawled through the narrow tunnel, past chalk drawings of treasure maps and their initials carved into stone. In the chamber they'd called the council room, he found another container. Inside was a wooden knight figurine, hand-carved by their grandfather, painted in brilliant colors barely faded by time. Marcus had carried this knight everywhere during their adventures and had cried for hours when he'd lost it. Danny's note was attached. "I found this 5 years ago and wanted to mail it to you a dozen times, but I kept hoping you'd come back for it yourself. Remember what Grandpa said? A true knight protects what matters most. You used to say that meant adventure and family. When did you stop believing that? Your next clue is where we buried our greatest treasure, where we made promises. We swore we'd never break. I kept my promise, Marcus. Did you?" The time capsule was buried behind the cabin, 3 feet north and 2 feet east from where the flagstone patio met the foundation. Marcus found the red-handled spade in the tool shed, the same one their grandfather had used for gardening. His soft hands blistered immediately, but the physical work felt strangely satisfying. 3 feet down, the shovel struck metal. The olive green ammunition box was larger than he remembered, locked with a combination that had survived 18 years underground. He tried their birthday, 8/15, but it didn't work. Then he remembered, 8/12/88, August 12th, 1988, the night. They'd buried it and sworn to remain best friends forever. Inside were the artifacts of their childhood, comic books worth thousands now, baseball cards including a rookie Mickey mantle, a photograph of 3 generations of Reed men. But there was something new, a manila envelope with Marcus's name in Danny's adult handwriting. Inside was a recent letter, a small digital camera, and a USB drive. "Marcus, the real treasure isn't in this box. It's what we've remembered along the way. Look at the camera. I've documented every summer, every moment I spent here thinking about you." And read your journal, page 47, Remember the promises you made? Marcus opened his teenage journal to page 47, dated August 15th, 1988. I can't believe this is my last night as a kid. Tomorrow I leave for college and everything changes. Here with Danny and Grandpa, I feel like I could conquer the world, not with money, but with courage and imagination. Danny made me promise we'll keep having adventures forever, that we'll never let the world make us boring. I promise, little brother. I promise we'll always be explorers. I swear I'll never forget who I am when I'm here with you. The weight of his broken promises crushed him. But there was more. A modern smartphone with a single video file. Danny's face filled the screen, older and tired, but eyes still bright with mischief. He was sitting behind the cabin, with Pine Lake in the background. Hey, Marcus, I know I look terrible. Chemo will do that to you. Yeah, it wasn't just my heart. The cancer came back last spring, maybe 6 months left. Marcus's breath caught. Cancer. Danny had been dying alone. I never told you because I didn't want our reunion to be about pity. I wanted it to be about choice. I spent every summer here for 25 years, Marcus. Every single summer. I'd set up the old fort, follow our treasure trails, and imagine you were here with me. Danny held up a small wooden box, ornately carved and polished. This is for you, the last piece. But the real treasure is what you do next. Will you remember who you used to be? Will you honor the promises we made when the world seemed full of infinite possibility? The video ended with Danny walking toward the camera, and Marcus sobbed harder than he had since their father's funeral. Marcus found the wooden box behind a loose stone in the foundation. Inside was an old brass key and a final note. The greatest. Treasure is locked where our adventures began and must begin again. Use this key to unlock not just a door, but a future where the boy you were guiding the man you've become. Marcus crawled back into their childhood fort and opened the small lockbox they'd installed decades ago. Inside was a deed transfer, making him owner of the cabin, a bank statement with enough money to maintain it forever, and Danny's final letter. This cabin is yours now, but more than that, it's a responsibility. It's where magic lives, where two boys learned that the greatest adventures happen when we're brave enough to believe in something bigger than ourselves. You can sell this place and go back to profitable emptiness, or you can remember who you used to be. I've left you enough money to fund whatever dream the boy inside you wants to pursue. The game doesn't have to end, Marcus. It can begin again, not just for you, but for other children who need to learn what we learned. Make me proud. Make the night proud. Your partner in all adventures, Danny. Marcus sat in the fort as afternoon light filtered through the windows, listening to water lap against the dock and wind whisper through pine branches. For the first time in decades, he felt purpose that had nothing to do with profit margins. 3 months later, Marcus stood behind the cabin, but this time he wasn't alone. 12 children from Milwaukee, kids from single-parent homes and foster care, surrounded him, their eyes wide with excitement. The cabin had been restored and expanded with bunk beds and modern amenities. "Welcome to Adventure Headquarters," Marcus said, wearing jeans and flannel instead of $1,000 suits. "My name is Marcus, but you can call me Commander Marcus. My little brother Danny and I used to hunt for treasure here, and we discovered something amazing. When you're brave enough to believe in magic, you can find the greatest treasure of all." 10-year-old Sarah raised her hand. "Did you really find treasure?" Marcus smiled, thinking of the wooden knight in his pocket and the video message that had changed his life. "We found the greatest treasure of all, Sarah. We found out who we really were." He gestured toward the forest. "Hidden in these woods are clues to an amazing treasure hunt. But remember, the best adventures happen when you stop thinking like a grown-up and start thinking like a kid who's ready to become an explorer." The children cheered and ran toward the woods, following symbols Marcus had spent weeks carving into trees and rocks. He'd rebuilt the game from scratch, creating new puzzles while honoring what he and Danny had shared. Marcus had stepped back from Reed Technologies, appointing executives to run the company while he focused on what mattered. The cabin had become the Reed Adventure Camp, bringing underprivileged children to Pine Lake for programs focused on outdoor adventure and building confidence. His phone buzzed. "The board wants to know when you'll return full-time. Tokyo expansion on hold." 6 months ago, that message would have panicked him. Now he simply turned off the phone. That evening, as children roasted marshmallows and shared stories of their discoveries, Marcus retreated to the adventure headquarters. He opened Danny's journal and wrote his first entry in 25 years. Day 1, new series, mission, Operation Second Chances. Agent, Commander Marcus, age 52, going on 12. Objective, keep the adventures alive, honor the memory of the best little brother in the world, and help other kids discover the magic Danny and I found here. Danny, I hope you can see this. I hope you know I finally kept my promise. The adventures continue, and they always will. Thank you for never giving up on me. Thank you for showing me the way home. Outside, children's laughter echoed across Pine Lake, mixing with the call of loons and whisper of wind through pine branches. Marcus smiled, knowing that somewhere Danny was smiling too. The treasure hunt had been real, but the greatest treasure wasn't buried in the ground. It was the rediscovery of wonder, the courage to be vulnerable, and understanding that the most important adventures happen when we're brave enough to remain children at heart. The game was far from over. It was just beginning again, and this time, Marcus would make sure it never ended. The end. And that's it for today's story. If you enjoyed, this is how a millionaire relives his youth through a game only his brother knew. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss what's next. Thanks for watching M&A The Story Unfolds, where every story has a twist. See you in the next one.